Welcome to Smash Metafiction, the side project of Smash Fiction, where we put aside our differences and work not to pit characters against one another, but to unite them together in search of a common— Wait a damn minute! What is Surprise Party doing? Surprise Party from out of nowhere! My god, what the hell is this? Surprise Party is doing a wrestling episode! That son of a bitch! Surprise Party just turned its back on the Smash Fiction listeners, for the love of God! A spectacle of excess, in the words of Roland Barthes. The one true sport, in the words of Aubrey Sitterson. And of course, in the now immortal words of John Oliver, better than the things that you like. Say what you will about professional wrestling, it's an entirely unique form of storytelling. It's like soap opera and ballet had a baby, and that baby ran away to join the circus, and the ringleader was like, "Okay, kid, what's your act?" And the kid goes, "I get hit in the face with a chair!"
It'll never sell.
And even that overly long, unnecessarily convoluted description doesn't paint the whole picture, because the other thing that makes pro wrestling unique is the delicate line it walks between fiction and reality, especially when it comes to wrestlers who are friends behind the scenes. The Clique infamously broke kayfabe on live television by acknowledging their friendship despite the enmity between their characters. The Four Horsewomen of NXT were never known publicly by that name until after they changed the game for American women's wrestling as on-screen rivals. And while the six wrestlers collectively known as The Elite have never been particularly concerned with hiding their friendship, their recent decision to start their own promotion is currently sending massive waves throughout the industry. What I'm trying to say is, in professional wrestling, six friends working together can change everything. Or at least you can try. The six backstage buddies you will be bringing together tonight are already well-traveled veterans of the independent circuit, but they've just been signed to a major company with an audience that might not even know their names. It's time to see if these indie workers can make it on the big stage, with only their Twitter followings and each other for support. But be careful, you're not the only secret stable in search of screen time, and if you let it, this business will use you for all you're worth before stabbing you in the back and leaving you to die in undignified poverty. That's not a joke, just so we're clear. That's just factually accurate. Sorry for bringing down the mood, guys.
Real talk.
I'm Miles Schneiderman, and as the official referee for this contest, I will be ensuring that each of our hosts follow the rules, making the 1, 2, or 3 count on each scenario, and ultimately raising the hand of the winner. The following surprise party is scheduled for several falls.
Several falls!
Introducing first, Bullshitting out of Los Angeles, California. Entering to the theme of ZZ Top's Sharp-Dressed Man, he's been known by many names throughout his career, including Dan Kind, the Honky Tonk Dan, the Dan that Gravity forgot, the Dan they call Vader, and my personal favorite, the Dandertaker. When you hear someone scream, "You just made the list!" you know he's on his way, because that's how it goes when the Dan comes around. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Bryan Mulcairn.
I am a real American.
We have clearly been friends for too long, because that just happened. By the way, real name, Daniel Bryan Mulcairn.
Yeah. So take that, identity thieves.
And his opponent, from Las Cruces, New Mexico, entering to the theme of Killer Queen by Queen, she's bullshitted around the world as the Bob Father, shippin' ain't easy, man. Ship Gordon, Sexton Bobcastle, Kenny O'Megan, and her most famous incarnation, Ravishing Thick Rude. Ladies and gentlemen, the MeganBob powers are about to explode. It's MeganBob!
Let's get ready to snuggle! Is that not what we're doing here today?
Yes, Bob, we're snuggling.
Okay,
That's what we're doing. Just don't worry about it, all right?
Okay.
Kenny O'Megan is fucking great. Oh my god.
All right, so here we go. Let me just ring the bell here. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that? That's Elevated by It Lives, It Breathes. I know that music. Is Will Ospreay here? Hold on, I've just been handed a note that says this song has been forcibly taken from Will Ospreay by right of Twitter conquest. Now belongs to... Oh, God, ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that this surprise party is now a triple threat match, introducing the third competitor, one half of the criminally underrated tag team Vicious and DeLucas, known throughout the bullshit industry as the master of the Brownward Spiral.
Oh, you monster.
Oh, I hate it. Bob got Kenny O'Megan, and that's the best you can do for Lucas, our
Good
guest.
lord.
Straight out of Sydney, Australia, and representing the wrath of you, the podcaster some call D. Lucas Brown, Lucas Brown!
Oh, you didn't know? Because when we get angry, it's like a big cloud rumbling, and there's rain in there, daddy, and thunder, and lightning bolts as long as the Nile.
Wow.
Oh, so happy. If this is your first time listening to Surprise Party, the way this works is that we take fictional characters from various existing stories and stick them together into a different existing story, or in this particular case, an amalgam story that represents the wrestling genre as a whole. Each of the other hosts will create their own group of wrestlers who all broke into this wrestling company at the same time and have become friends. Once each of them have their groups created, I'll present them with various challenges taken from the world of wrestling. The players will take turns choosing a character from their team and explaining how they deal with the challenge. After that point, the chosen character is unusable for the remainder of the game. At the end of each round, I'll decide privately which character met the challenge the best, and award points to the players accordingly in the fine tradition of the G1 Climax, aka the only time a points-based contest has ever been a good idea in pro wrestling, and then we'll move on. At the end of the game, I'll see which player has the most points, and they will be declared World Metafiction Champion for at least as long as it takes before someone else knocks them unconscious and hands me a briefcase. So first off, let's choose your characters, and in order to do that, we are going to be rolling initiative.
Oh, man. I'm so excited for you, Lucas.
I bought a D20 for this very occasion,
Oh.
although
Yeah,
I've
this
been
is-
told it's a spin down, but I promise not to cheat.
Whatever, this is its big moment.
That's a 4, ladies and gentlemen. Hot dice.
Nice. Hot dog.
That is a 19 for me.
I got an 18.
An 18, okay. So the order will be Dan, then Bob, then Lucas, but remember, this order will be rotating every round. The first character slot each of you will be filling is the Powerhouse. The Powerhouse wins matches with size, strength, and that's about it. They could be a muscular bodybuilder or just the biggest guy in the locker room. Either way, their primary method of attack is to pick up their opponents and throw them very hard at the ground, and their primary method of defense is being too strong or just too huge to conquer. Dan, who is your Powerhouse?
My powerhouse is Gideon Jura from Magic the Gathering.
Okay, as we all know, I purposefully do not follow the lore of Magic the Gathering, so explain to us who Gideon Jura is.
I would be happy to. Gideon is a planeswalker, which we've mentioned them a couple of times on the show before. They're essentially super wizards that can travel between dimensions. Gideon does not at all look like a wizard. He is a very tall, very muscular dude who wears armor and has a weapon called a Sural, which is basically like 3 sword blades, but they're like flexible like whips, and they come out of his wrist. So Gideon is a master of white magic, which means he can do things like heal or like restrain his opponents in magic chains. But the main thing he does with white magic is he makes himself completely invincible. This guy has been stepped on by gigantic golems. He's been hit with war machines. He's been thrown through buildings. There was a point when a god attacked him directly and nothing hurts him. Nothing even scratches him. So he's big, he's strong, he's unstoppable. I think he's going to be perfect for this, and because he is a warrior that uses white magic, he, of course, enters the ring to Knights in White Satin by the Moody Blues.
Oh, well, okay,
There are
naturally.
going to be so many confused marks at that show. Like, I'm having feelings. What is this? Am I a bad person?
All right, Bob, who is your Powerhouse?
My powerhouse is He-Man.
All right, hell yeah. Tell us about He-Man.
He-Man is the hero of Eternia, and whenever he holds up the sword that he got from the lady, who has a
The
name.
sorceress.
There we go. The sorceress, and says, by the power of Grayskull. Then he starts wearing furry underwear and a chest harness.
Yeah.
He's not going to use the sword. He's going to transform and then just toss the sword aside. Because he doesn't
All right.
need it. He's fine without it. For the remainder of this match, I think I'm going to call him Heel Man.
Ooh.
I
He
like it.
enters to Fucked My Way Up to the Top by Lana Del Rey.
Oh my god.
All right.
Wow,
'cause
that's
it's
some
true.
character assassination on Prince Adam you're pulling out here.
Oh, I
Hey,
don't know.
we do not know. We do not know how he got that sword. We don't know a lot of
Yeah,
things.
you tell me
We
you
don't even
can't
know how
see
he got
Prince
that
Adam
haircut.
listening to Lana Del Rey.
Oh,
Come on
God.
now.
That's like the main thing. He just has it on repeat on the stereo in his room, and he does have a stereo.
As he trims his own bangs.
Yes.
That's right. All right, Lucas, who is your powerhouse?
All right, imagine an arena, if you will. A spotlight roams over the crowd. Suddenly, we hear a piercing whistle, like a bomb falling, and we hear a man yell, "It's coming down!" At which point, We're Coming Down by Jim Johnston plays, made famous by the Dudley Boys, and
course.
a boulder falls from the ceiling and lands in the middle of the entrance ramp. That boulder splits in half, and a tiny figure steps out within. They make their way slowly to the ring as the announcer calls, making her way to the ring, standing 3'8.5" due to a healthy layer of earth on the bottoms of her feet. The
I
former
knew it.
grand champion of Earth Rumble 5, the Blind Bandit, Tough Bayfong.
Oh, yay.
right.
I knew I couldn't pick any Avatar characters, seeing as you
Oh,
were going
I'm
to be
all
in this
over it.
episode, Lucas.
So, Toph was blind from birth and born into privilege, and sick of the condescension of her parents, she ran away and learned earthbending from badger moles, allowing her to use earthbending as an extension of her senses to see through vibrations, like Daredevil. She became famous entering underground tournaments and wrecking shop, annihilating the older and more experienced competition. Toph can make rock armor, she can split, throw, and halve boulders many times her size. Oh, and she invented metal bending because she was sick of not being able to invent metal bending. Toph is frequently underestimated due to her size and blindness, but is tough as nails, loves to fight, loves earthbending, and is really, really good at it. You dig?
Oh,
Oh.
I do dig, indeed. The next character slot is the High Flyer. As the tension builds and a wrestling match nears its climax, there's only one thing the High Flyer knows how to do. Climb to the top rope, jump off, and hope for the best. Smaller than many and faster than most, supremely agile and profoundly graceful, the High Flyer bounces off the ropes, springboards to the outside, responds to being thrown by landing on their feet, and performs aerial attacks so spectacular it brings the audience to theirs. Bob, who is your High Flyer?
Gonzo.
Wait, what?
I love it.
Really? I'm sticking to this. I knew the moment that you sent us that list, Gonzo was my choice. Because he has a passion for a lot of things. Chickens being one of them. But one of the other things that Gonzo has a passion for is sort of daredevil stunts and being blown out of cannons and that kind of thing. I think the only place he wants to be is on top of the ropes. And then also he has that Muppet ability to stretch his arms out real long and then tickle somebody from across the ring, and they will not like that.
Gonzo has entered Smash
Hey,
Fiction.
that Gonzo is a real hand in the ring. Of course, the hand
Absolutely.
isn't his, but...
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, what song does he enter to? I could not figure this out.
Oh, it's real easy. It's the Anvil Chorus. He ate a tire to it on The Muppet Show.
Oh,
Because art.
it's what he would want.
It sounds like the answer to me.
Gonzo is a Muppet. He's blue. He's from space. He doesn't know a lot about his parentage. There was a movie about him with Jeffrey Tambor and a bear. There you go.
Thank you, Bob.
Also, Hulk Hogan was in that movie, racist hot dog man that he is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lucas, who is your High Flyer?
All right, so everyone's calmed down from the previous entrance. And very slowly, we hear some rim shots coming up as Boogie Wonderland begins to play by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Suddenly, unfurling from the ceiling comes a giant pride flag with what looks to be a series of triangles arranged in the middle of it, and the music swells, and as the word dance hits at the beginning, the pride flag dents in, and suddenly stepping through it is a gigantic T-Rex in a wizard hat. And just as the T-Rex comes into view, it explodes into a shower of rainbow ribbons falling from the ceiling, revealing a figure dressed as a Valkyrie with a rainbow cape and battle skirt. As they make their way to the ring, the announcer calls out, "Hailing from New Elfington, the fancy dancing, reaper romancing, macaroon baking, world shaking, flip wizard, woo! Son of a gun, it's Taco." You know,
Oh my
from
gosh.
TV.
Y'all are gonna have to tell me who this character is, Lucas.
All right, from
lay it
the
on me.
Adventure Zone, from the Adventure
Oh, well,
Zone
that'd be
balance
why.
arc,
Gotcha.
Taco is a former chef and current level 16 transmutation wizard, giving him access to the primal forces of the universe, which he mostly uses to look good, vaporize bad guys, and prank fools who deserve it. He saved the planar system once, but it's no big. Whatevs. Taco might play dumb, but he is a brilliant magical improviser and has access to an array of spells and magical equipment that would make Dr. Doom go damn. He is also, as mentioned above, a flip wizard with a dexterity of 16. People underestimate him as dumb or showy, but this magical chef is no flash in the pan.
Okay. That's awesome, dude. Dan, who is your high flyer?
I went with another fantasy character, although this one much more final than Lucas's. I went with Freya Crescent from Final Fantasy IX.
All right, tell me about Freya Crescent. She sounds fascinating.
She is fascinating. She is an anthropomorphic rat.
Okay.
She is what is called in Final Fantasy a dragoon, which is sort of like a knight that wears kind of draconic looking armor. They tend to use spears, and their signature attack is jump, which is where they launch themselves so far into the sky that they leave the battlefield for several seconds and then come crashing down on an enemy, dealing tons of damage. Freya also has access to a lot of other kind of draconic powers, like she can use this healing move. She has like a breath weapon. She has all sorts of stuff. She's a really excellent fighter, a brilliant strategist, and she is going to be dominating the air in any match she's in, especially when she comes into her theme song, which is Jump by Van Halen.
Of course.
Fair enough. The third character slot is the Technician. The Technician may not be the strongest or fastest wrestler in the ring, but they are almost always the smartest, scouting their opponents beforehand and coming up with brilliant strategies to take them down. These strategies usually involve targeting a specific body part, arm, leg, neck, and attacking it relentlessly, typically finishing off their victims with an expertly applied submission hold, although the Technician may also use their unmatched wrestling talent to roll opponents up into a surprise pin. Lucas, who is your Technician?
As we pan across the arena, suddenly the revving of engines is heard, and the unmistakable voice of Fred Durst comes out of the speakers and declares that we should keep rolling, 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 rolling.
Yeah!
Thank you. And from the entrance ramp comes a four-wheeled figure flying down the ramp, engines revving, lots of spinning out. As they near the ring, you think they're going to crash, when suddenly there is a whirring of gears and a shifting of shapes, and suddenly a rat-like humanoid is standing near the ring. Hailing from the Vespa system, but currently residing in his seasonal residence on prehistoric Earth, the Count of Cheddar, the Lord of Limburger, it's Rat Trap from Transformers Beast Wars.
Hell yeah.
Okay, talk about him.
Alright, so a seasoned veteran of the Predacon Wars and the smallest of the Maximals, Rat Trap is frequently underestimated for his small size. Are you noticing a theme yet? And his seeming cowardice. He's not a coward. He just doesn't want to die. If shown an impenetrable fortress, he will find a sneaky way in, cut a hole in the wall, leave 2 charges in the engine room, and ride the fucking bomb out. He's a killer marksman, infiltrator, saboteur, and demolitions expert. While outwardly sarcastic and snide, he's also intensely loyal. You mess with his friends, you're going home in a box. Or several boxes. Just ask Waspinator. The ultimate pragmatist in war becomes the dirtiest player in the game in the ring. If you smell what Rat Trap ate for lunch, it's probably garbage. It's gonna be garbage. He is a rat.
He is the second rat of this game so far, and
Yeah, what's up with
we
that,
don't
Dan?
we don't even have Kid here. Dan, who is your Technician?
My Technician is Mace Windu from Star Wars.
Okay,
All
tell us
right, all
about
right.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu is a Jedi Master. He's part of the Jedi Council and is actually usually considered like the second most powerful member of the Jedi Council, right after Yoda in terms of his Force abilities and his lightsaber skills. One ability that Mace has in the extended universe that isn't shown as much in the movies is his Force ability to detect what he calls shatter points, which are essentially weak points either in people or objects or situations where if you strike it precisely, you can completely destroy that thing. So it could be a gap in an opponent's defense. It could be a weak point in a giant mech. There was even a point where he detected the one person he needed to kill in order to end an entire war. So I feel like when it comes to detecting weaknesses, Mace Windu is the guy to go to. And his entrance music, of course, Purple Rain by Prince.
Very good.
Nice.
Excellent choice for technician. And Bob, who is your technician?
Entering to Lady Gaga's teeth with beautiful, thick hair flowing, it's Angua von Uberwald.
Yes.
Nice.
So-
Tell us about Angua.
She is a lady cop and also a werewolf. And she was trained by Sam Vimes, and most of what he taught her was how to fight dirty. So how to be effective, but also be a real asshole about it. I'm trying to think of what other important Angua things. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you about like feeling stuff otherwise. She has a boyfriend. He's pretty great. Complicated relationship with her parents. Oh yeah, she's from the Discworld books. There you go.
And if you want to hear more about her, you can listen to a previous episode of Smash Fiction. The werewolf battle was what, Dan? Help me out here.
100 and something. I don't know. It was back in
100.
October.
It was a while ago. Go listen to
Yeah,
it.
it was
Y'all
part of
done a lot of episodes.
Smashtoberfest.
We have done a lot of episodes. The fourth character slot is the Striker. The Striker doesn't get paid by the hour. In their ideal world, matches last perhaps 30 seconds at most. They are here to knock you out. That simple. Dangerous, precise, and without mercy, Strikers are wrestling assassins whose preferred weapon is not the knife or the gun, but the punch and the kick, the elbow and the knee. Dan, who is your Striker?
So entering the ring to the booming sounds of the Mortal Kombat theme
Oh
is
boy.
Katana.
Oh boy. I knew we were going to see some video game characters in this one, some fighting game characters. I'm here for it.
Hell yeah, man. The Striker is the role to put fighting game characters into, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And another Smash Fiction veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. Katana, in this case, is roundabout, I want to say like 5,000 years old. She is a princess from another dimension who was raised by a conquering warlord. She has been training in the martial arts for basically as long as she's been alive. So she has multiple generations worth of martial arts expertise. She knows several different types of martial arts. She's great with these bladed fans that she uses. She is actually good with a sword. She has some kind of like low-key supernatural powers involving like lifting people into the air or like curving her fans around in kind of weird, improbable ways. But she's an amazing fighter, very difficult to take down, and will absolutely devastate anyone she comes into contact with.
Very good. Very good. Bob, who is your Striker?
This may surprise you. I have not played that many fighting games. I know.
No, not
Very
you, Bob.
off-brand for me. So
Yeah.
my Striker, entering to All-Star by Smash Mouth, is Poe from Kung Fu Panda.
Nice. I like it. Tell us about Poe.
He is a large, beautiful panda who wanted to be really good at martial arts, and through the power of movie magic became really good at martial arts and learned a lot about accepting yourself. And then the people he works with accepted him too, and it was really lovely. And also, for a thing that is animated, the cinematography is amazing.
Yeah, that movie is actually super underrated.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
It's real
Totally
good.
agree.
Excellent choice, Bob. Lucas, who is your Striker?
From the dark arena, we hear the sounds of a shamisen playing, drawing notes back and forth. At first it seems to be a children's folk song, Harukakita perhaps. And then you realize it is drawing out the beginning strains of The Rising Sun, the opening entrance of Shinsuke Nakamura. The lights come up behind our figure as they walk through a sword form before sheathing their swords to the side. As the rising crescendo of the music, there is a long downward note on the shamisen, and the lights rise to reveal Miyamoto Usagi, the protagonist of Usagi Yojimbo.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. All right, tell us about him.
Usagi walks to the ring very slowly because when he arrives, you will be just as dead. The only student of the unorthodox Kachuichi sensei, Miyamoto Usagi is a deadly and creative fighter. An honorable rabbit ronin, star masterless samurai, walking the warrior's path. He wields Willow Branch and Young Willow, a katana and wakizashi. However, he is equally as dangerous unarmed or even with a wooden bokken. His skill in a fight is unmatched, but it is compassion and heart that makes him renowned. Many a foe has mistaken Usagi's kindness for weakness. Those people tend to be dead now. Throughout his adventures, Usagi has fought samurai, bandits, demons, assassins. Oh, and this one time he fought Gamera and won? was quite a day. An opponent won't know what this rabbit will pull out of his hat.
And as it happens, Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song was used in my wedding, so Lucas wins.
Oh, that's excellent.
Great talking to you guys. We're done for tonight. The 5th character slot is the Brawler. The Brawler doesn't give a crap about your rules or your referees. All they want to do is tear their enemies apart with their bare hands. When that's not enough, the Brawler's first instinct is to go under the ring and look for a weapon, and if a passing gust of wind should happen to knock down the ref, they have no qualms about smashing their opponents upside the head with a chair or kicking them right in the naughty bits. Tough as nails, almost impossible to keep down, and harboring a bloodlust that only increases when the blood is their own, the Brawler will bite your hand, scratch at your eyes, and frequently lose by disqualification. Bob, who is your Brawler?
Entering to I Can't Decide by the Scissor Sisters, the chorus of which is, I can't decide whether you should live or die. You'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang your head and cry. Is Helena from Orphan Black.
Nice. Of Extraordinary League fame.
Yes, of Extraordinary League fame and pulling a chunk of rebar out of her side fame and carrying a deer over her shoulders in a, is that a fireman's carry? I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
There we go. Coming out of a, what are those buildings called where you keep stuff? Storage facility?
Storage facility?
Yeah, there we go.
Like a shed?
Yeah, covered in blood from other people. That's just kind of a hobby of hers, is getting covered in blood. And she is from Orphan Black, and she is one of the clones. She's the clone from, I believe, the Ukraine, with the kind of frizzy blonde hair, and she's also the one who is the most violent.
Bob, you nailed Fireman's Carry. I'm so proud of you. You're learning already.
Thank you. I looked up some terms earlier, which I have promptly forgotten.
Well, clearly not. Also, that's a great character choice. Lucas, who is your Brawler?
So we start with spotlights, searching the arena for our entering contestant. Suddenly, rapid-fire drums come blaring over the PA system. It's March of the Pigs by Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, whoa.
Suddenly, the spotlight focuses on the balcony, and you see a figure fly down a rope like Shawn Michaels at Wrestlemania 12, then land close to the ring and fall completely off, smashing their face into the mat like the Blue Blazer. However, upon landing, they pancake out and stand back up, wave heartily to the crowd, and are announced as Peter Porker, the Amazing Spider-Ham.
Very nice. Tell us about Spider-Ham.
A spider bitten by a radioactive pig, an atomic hairdryer was involved. Peter Porker fights crime as the spectacular Spider-Ham. He has all the powers and scientific acumen of 616 Spider-Man, combined with his most deadly attribute. He's a frickin' cartoon. Some brawlers break a bottle to show they're serious. Spider-Ham breaks physics because it's funny. You think that's not dangerous? Ask Eddie Valiant's brother.
Oh, brutal. Brutal. Too soon.
He can pull items from hammerspace, like hammers. He can shrug off lethal hits. And he can float when he smells delicious pie. Also, he just washed his hands. That's why they're wet.
That's right. Man, I gotta say, if I had to put money on which of you was gonna bring a spider person into this match first, it would not have been on Lucas.
Yeah, dude. There was a certain choice on my high flyer list that was extremely obvious for that reason.
Yeah, I was expecting it, and it didn't happen, but that's fine. It's a great choice. Dan, who is your Brawler?
Well, I hate to double up on the Marvel characters here.
Sure, yeah.
But thankfully, my character is from a different universe within the Marvel multiverse, so I feel like we're fine.
Yeah, that's okay then.
This character enters to the song Born on the Bayou by Creedence Clearwater Revival because it is Gambit.
Oh boy, I was afraid of that. Yep, go ahead, tell us about Gambit of the X-Men.
Do the voice.
Nope, you can listen to the Wolverine vs. Predators episode if you want to hear my one and only flirtation with the Cajun accent.
And you fucking should.
I have listened to it multiple times just for that bit.
So, Gambit, aka Remy LeBeau.
Interruption. Remy Etienne Lebeau.
We don't have all day here, Lucas. I can't go full names all the time.
The Raging Cajun, Remy LeBeau.
The Raging Cajun. He's a member of the X-Men, but before that, he was a card-carrying member of the Thieves Guild down in Louisiana.
Thank you for pronouncing it properly.
No, I got it, dude. He's a really, really excellent fighter. He usually uses a bow staff, but he's just as good unarmed. But he is a very dirty fighter. being raised by thieves and criminals basically his whole life. There are some characters that you can talk about where you say, oh yeah, anything they pick up becomes a lethal weapon. In Gambit's case, he picks up objects and turns them into bombs. So give him a folding chair, you can give him a briefcase or a ladder, you can like have him pick off a small piece of the turnbuckle and throw it, and it will be lethal. He is a very dirty fighter, and he is not afraid to get his hands dirty.
So good. And the sixth and final character slot is, of course, the Dumpus. Some wrestlers are just there to make the other guys look good. If you've ever seen some poor idiot get in the ring with Hulk Hogan or The Rock and just immediately lose, you've seen pro wrestling's version of the Dumpus. But not all wrestling Dumpuses are jobbers, the guys who are there to just lie on their back for 3 seconds and collect a paycheck. The Dumpus can also be an annoying comedy character, an annoying manager, or a regular pro wrestler who is just historically bad at being a pro wrestler. Whatever their origins, the Dumpus is universally recognized by the audience as a total joke, and any in-ring victory on their part is nothing short of a miracle. We do this a little bit differently when it comes to the Dumpus, so Lucas, who is Dan's Dumpus?
Oh, Dan. I was so happy when I came up with this, and I knew it had to be just for you.
Oh, good. I'm delighted.
I want you to picture a nightclub. There are waves and waves of beautiful Chinese women in red and gold dresses dancing in unison in perfect form, not a single one of them out of place. And then from behind them comes an awkward white lady who starts to sing a really badly pronounced version of Anything Goes.
Oh, no.
That's right, Dan.
Lucas,
Your
why?
Dumpus is Wilhelmina Willie Scott, aspiring actress turned seedy nightclub singer from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Wow. That is quite the Dumpus.
Man.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Willie?
Well, let's see. She came from, I believe it was Idaho, and then went to China because everything was booming in China in the 20s, apparently. And she ended up singing in a very culturally appropriative keep-out dress.
Sure, yeah.
And Willie hates everything. She hates animals, she hates trees, she hates guns, snakes, elephants, archaeologists, bugs, racist caricatures of cults, eyeball soup, you name it. Hey, if there's a lever for the death trap, she's gonna bump it and get your character killed. If there's a clue to ignore, she will ignore it to get a bug out of her hair. In fact, Dan, you're going to have to try really, really hard just to keep your other characters alive. Indy!
Jeez. Oh boy. All right. Well, that's pretty epic already. Let's see if we can top it. Dan, who is Bob's Dumpus?
MeganBob, your Dumpus is Ted Buckland from Scrubs.
Oh my god, that's
like
so
Ted.
mean. That's so mean.
Look, he's a fine character, all things considered, but he also sucks, especially when put into a wrestling context. Ted Buckland is basically the lawyer that represents Sacred Heart, the hospital where Scrubs takes place. He's a kind of milquetoast loser sad sack who is incapable of doing anything competently except for singing in a barbershop quartet. Anything he tries, he almost inevitably fails at. He's basically like a slightly more updated version of George Costanza, but like even more pathetic is Ted Buckland.
Oh, wow. That's a little cruel.
But accurate. And an excellent choice. Bob, who is Lucas's Dumpus?
Lucas, your Dumpus is Job Bluth.
Oh,
Jesus.
So your Dumpus is the kind of person who feels very confident about their ability to handle things, but is not in fact competent and able to handle things. Put the dead dove in the freezer and does magic. These
The
are
Illusions,
failed
Bob,
magician from
illusions.
Arrested Development.
yes, illusions, Michael. Yes, you're right. I'm so sorry. I do apologize. And famously, his mother doesn't care for him. So there you go.
Nobody
would
really
say
cares for him. Come on.
His lack of skill is eclipsed only by his immense laziness.
He's an
That's right.
exceptional character. I love Will Arnett so much.
Oh, he does a terrific job with a terrible, terrible character.
You know what? We've brought some real gems.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I'm very proud of all of you. All right, everyone now has a group of 6 wrestlers, but the timekeeper hasn't rung the bell just yet. Before you go through that curtain, it's time for some loyalties to change. Each of you, please roll a d6.
Right. No, I don't like this number.
What'd you get, Bob?
I got a 5.
Okay, Dan
I got a 4.
and Lucas.
I also got a 5.
Okay, so Dan will be giving Princess Katana to Lucas.
Phew, one I knew of. Okay, good.
Bob will be giving Helena from Orphan Black to Dan.
Treat her good, Dan.
And Lucas will be giving Spider Ham to Bob.
Oh, God damn it. I'm so mad.
Welcome to Surprise Party.
Yep. Where dreams go to die.
Players, please introduce your faction of professional wrestlers to their adoring fans.
Introducing this especially amazing group of wrestlers, we have Gideon Jura from Magic the Gathering, Freya Crescent from Final Fantasy IX, Mace Windu from Star Wars, Helena from Orphan Black, Gambit from the X-Men, and Willie Scott from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
All right, Bob.
We have Heel Man, formerly known as He-Man, Gonzo, Ango von Uberwald, Poe from Kung Fu Panda, Spider Ham, and Ted Buckland hanging out lawyering.
All right, and Lucas.
We have Toph Beifong from Avatar The Last Airbender. We have Taco from TV, aka The Adventure Zone. We have Rat Trap from Beast Wars Transformers, Miyamoto Usagi from Usagi Yojimbo, Kitana from Mortal Kombat, and Joe Blue from Arrested Development.
That is really the only way to say that name.
And with that, it's time to put on your spandex, tape up your fists, and have those hidden razor blades ready as you begin your pursuit of wrestling glory. Chapter 1, Tag Team Turmoil. You know, members of backstage wrestling groups don't typically start off hating each other in front of the camera. After all, when you and your best friend are trying to break out together, it only makes sense to do it as a tag team. You know each other well already, you enjoy working together, and quite frankly, you know perfectly well that you and your buddy can take any two of these other jabronis without breaking a sweat. But you're new around here, and there are at least half a dozen established teams already crowding the division who have no intention of letting you take their spot. You'll need teamwork, fighting ability, and the crowd on your side to rise up from initial obscurity and secure the tag team championship. Dan, which two characters are you choosing for your tag team, and how will they work together to rise to the top of the tag team ranks?
I'm going to go with Helena and Willie Scott.
Okay. The two people you got from someone else.
That's
Tell
correct.
me about it.
They're going to go by the name, we'll say the Golden Duo, seeing as they share a hair color. They present themselves as something of like a comedy tag team where Helena plays up this sort of like clueless foreigner thing, and Willie Scott is this extremely whiny person who does not want to be there and complains about everything. But this is all, of course, a distraction to get their opponents to let their guard down. Willie Scott tends to draw a lot of focus to herself, particularly when she's like being attacked by people. She'll be complaining, she'll be trying to get the ref's attention, trying to call off the match. And in the meantime, while she's drawing all this attention, Helena will basically just hamstring the opponents literally.
Oh,
and then,
God.
And then trip Willie so that she falls on top of them, sort of accidentally ends up counting them out. Alternatively, one interesting strategy is that we see in Temple of Doom that Willie Scott is at her most competent when she doesn't realize that she's dealing with a dangerous situation. You know, like a lot of times Helena will be like screaming at her from the turnbuckle, like trying to get her to tag her out. And Willie will scream at her, "I see what you're saying. I just need to get over there," sort of like flailing her arms, and then accidentally knocks out her opponent in the meantime, only seconds later realizing that she has won the match when the ref lifts her hand above her head.
No, I mean, all hail the power of the dumpus plus the competent person. That is tried and true in wrestling. Bob, tell me about your tag team.
I'm going to put the two animals together. So Spider-Ham and Poe are going to work together.
Okay.
God.
That sounds awesome.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So Spider-Ham is going to cling to people, but he's going to be doing it in kind of a spider way. He is pig-shaped. Let's not get this confused. But in a spidery way. So a lot of skittering, which is going to make people feel really uncomfortable. They're going to be like, get this off of me. And Poe is a helpful person. But the great thing is that he's also kind of clumsy most of the time. And so he's a helper. He's going to go over there and be like, let me get this off of you, and try to swat at Spider-Ham. Spider-Ham's just going to skitter out of the way into a new part of their body. And so Poe's going to end up like slamming them across the face. Spider-Pig's going to crawl past a groin. And he's going to be like, and then knee them in the groin. And then it's going to end up with both people collapsed in the middle of the ring. And finally he's gonna like pick up Spider-Ham and be like, "I got it." Oh, that's too bad. Sorry, friends.
Okay.
A lot of underhanded techniques in these tag teams.
Yeah, seriously. Lucas, how about you?
All right, I am also going to follow the pattern. I'm sticking my dumpus with the most competent person on this list. So Tough and Job.
Oh, shit. Job's gonna die.
Job has been trying to pitch all kinds of team names to Toph, who has been picking her teeth and spitting and waiting for their match to start. And then finally, Job comes up and is like, what about rock and roll magic? And Toph kind of thinks for a minute and goes, yeah, that'll do, let's go. And picks him up by his collar and drags him, kicking and screaming, to the ring to face their opponents. Toph's strategy in this match is very simple. She is going to form a rock suit around Job, and she is going to shadow box him through the opposition. So she is punching and kicking and sliding as Job is screaming and being flailed around and badly battered inside this rock suit, until finally, the opponent down, Job is lifted bodily above the ring, bounces off one of the light ringings, and is pancaked upon his opponent. Lighter fluid spills from the rock suit. No one knows where it came from. A confused referee counts 1, 2, 3.
Oh, very nice. I like it a great deal. Chapter 2, Barbershop Window.
Oh, good.
Congratulations, the titles are yours, and your tag team is on top of the world. Enjoy it while it lasts, folks, because just when you and your buddy have seemingly reached the peak of your powers, one member of the team shockingly betrays the other, skyrocketing their own popularity as a badass villain and sending their unfortunate former friend tumbling back down the ladder, possibly never to recover. I'm not actually scoring for this choice, though it might come up later, so we're going to use the same order as the last chapter and then start switching with the next challenge. So, Dan, which of your characters in the tag team betrays the other?
I'm going to say Willie Scott does, because if anyone's going to leave the team, first of all, I'm happy that it's her, but honestly, she's way more corruptible than Helena is. Like, someone just needs to flash her some money or an easy ticket out. Vince McMahon could play her like a freaking guitar. So yeah, she's definitely turning heel.
So Dan, just to make sure you heard properly, the person who turns heel gets more popular.
Well,
the person who stays the face typily is not as successful. Just letting you know.
Janetti.
Well,
Yeah,
the
that's
audience
the
can be
Janetti.
dumb sometimes, Miles.
Fair enough.
The words of an actor. It's so true.
All right, Bob, it's your go.
I think Spider-Ham is gonna betray Poe because
Okay.
it's feeling like he's not getting enough opportunities to do web swinging and that kind of thing. It's gonna go, you're not letting me be great. And I think Poe's gonna say, you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do, man. I understand. Skadoosh.
And Lucas, who's the traitor on your team?
Oh, I think it's real obvious.
I mean, yes, but you want to just say it?
Okay, so if anyone hasn't seen the barbershop set, which I presume Dan and Megan, you have not, it's sort of a fake barbershop with a window and like a chair, and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, a terrible wrestler, used to do interviews there. So picture, if you will, Toph and Job standing in the barbershop being interviewed about things. And like the Starscream that he is, Job Bluth decides to pick up whatever's at hand. Let's say a pair of scissors or some hedge clippers, because Brutus Beefcake would use those, and attempts to brain Toph over the head with them. Toph is not even going to look. She is going to tap her foot. The scissors are going to bend back and smack Job in the face and send him through the barbershop window. Then WWF is going to re-edit the footage to make it look like, oh, wait, Toph was actually the cool one after all. Meta joke.
Very good. Chapter 3. This is your life.
Oh no.
Your new careers are going pretty well. I mean, except for the person who got barbershop windowed, but we don't talk about them anymore. And you seem to have settled nicely into the mid-card, with several regional and intercontinental championships there for the taking. But when you get to this level of popularity, feuds with other wrestlers tend to get a little more personal, and one particular rivalry has crossed some serious lines, eventually culminating in the infamous This Is Your Life segment. One member of your stable has a match coming up with their longtime evil enemy, a wrestler from outside the group, and a few days before the event, the enemy decides to play some mind games. In a total invasion of privacy, they've dug into your character's past and managed to track down 3 individuals from your former life. Inviting you to the ring, they announce to the crowd that this is your life, and bring each of the 3 out in turn to confront you. Bob, which character is having their past dragged out into the open? Which 3 characters from their original story are being brought out to the ring? And how do they deal with each one once they arrive? Remember, the goal here is to prevent your opponent from getting into your head and distracting you from your upcoming battle.
Oh. It's Ted?
Okay.
From the shadows comes the guy who's in charge of the hospital, whose name I forgot.
Kelso.
That's his name. And whenever he's brought to say something about Ted, he goes, who? Oh, yeah, that guy, the lawyer. Yeah, he's... And then just leaves. And Ted is like, but I talk to you all the time. I've done so many things for you. How would you not remember who I am? And he's like, what was that? Oh, it's fine. And then leaves. And then comes the rest of the barbershop quartet. And they come and they hand him his little straw boater and say, you're out. And he goes, but I'm the soul of the group. I'm the core. I'm the heart of everything we've been working for. We know, but we think we could do better without you. And so they leave. And then finally, I believe Ted has an ex-wife, right? Is that
I
a
believe
thing
so,
Ted
yes.
has?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes. I don't think we ever meet her.
I don't think we do, but we know she exists.
She does exist. So this woman, this impossibly beautiful, kind-eyed woman comes out and says, eh. And Ted just weeps into his briefcase and is destroyed by this experience and is unable to recover. So the answer, Miles, is very poorly. That's how this goes.
Okay. All right. Understood. Lucas, who are you choosing to confront their former demons?
Oh, well, it's funny you should say that, because someone decided to give me a character with 5,000 years of history. So Katana is going to be shown her life.
Whoa.
So as her opponent says, this is your life. Do you remember this voice? Katana, you've left your clothes on the floor again. I'm not picking them up. I'm the only person supporting you. It's your mother, Sindel. At which point Katana cut Sindel off and said, you never supported me. You were in a coma for like 1,000 years. So I did everything myself, so you can shut your mouth and go on back there. And your hair looks tacky.
Nice.
And then from the shadows comes, I was always the prettier one, you know. I knew that when people were after you, they were really trying to get closer to me. It's your sister, Melina! And Katana doesn't even let Melina speak. She looks at her and she says, your teeth are horrible.
Oh.
And Melina, a single tear falls down her cheek and she runs, tearful, from the building. And then finally, do you remember this voice? We were going to go to prom together, and then you said that we were going to be, and then you decided that you were too good for me. And she's like, Baraka, come out here. And Baraka comes out with his horrible fang face and his sword hands. And he said, see, we were going to go to the prom, and it was going to be great, but you ruined it. Baraka, I told you. You tried to kiss me, you got nervous, you passed out, and you stabbed yourself in the foot. You have no one to blame but yourself, and I exist in spite of you. So you can leave. And that is how Katana retakes her life.
Very nice.
So proud of her.
All right, Dan, your turn.
She's a strong, independent Mortal Kombat person who doesn't need no man.
Yep.
The unfortunate victim of this particular attack is none other than Gambit, who has plenty
Shit.
of people to pull out for this particular attack.
Someone's going to get Antarctica at the end of this.
The first one to emerge is Belladonna Boudreaux, the member of the Assassin's Guild, who at one point was engaged to and then married Gambit, only for him to abandon her after some various political shenanigans happened. And so she comes out and she says, you never loved me, Remy. You just left me behind in New Orleans to die. And then emerging out behind her is Gambit's current wife, Rogue, who says, Remy, you know I love you, but we can never really be together.
This is all
Not with
accent
my
hour.
powers being the way they are and all. I mean, ever since I shared my first kiss with my high school sweetheart, Cody. And Gambit's like, yeah, look, we hear your origin story every time your powers come up. Gambit is saying all of this in a Cajun accent, but it's all subtitled at the bottom of the screen,
Sure.
so that's what I'm going with.
There.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then Gambit realizes, wait a minute, Belladonna, Rogue, that can only mean one thing. One person is behind this This Is Your Life attack. It has to be Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister. And indeed, the pale-faced guy who looks like a 90s kid's idea of a vampire steps out from the shadows and says, "That is correct, LeBeau. I was the one behind all of this. Do you feel it now? Do you feel the weight as your psyche crumbles beneath my psychic attack? Do you feel your resolve has been destroyed, scattered like dust to the four winds?" And Gambit says, "Listen, mon ami." Again, he's speaking in a Cajun accent. I cannot emphasize that enough. Listen, mon ami.
Gotcha. I can hear it.
I have to deal with the weight of my past indiscretions literally every waking moment. You reminding me of them does nothing except for make these things more realistic and bring them down to a level that I can actually look at and deal with. So, Belladonna, I'm sorry. I sincerely wish you the best, but I hope you can accept that we are different people and lead different lifestyles. Rogue, you know I will always love you regardless of what your powers do to us. We will always find a way. And Sinister, you can go die in the Savage Land for all I care, because my life is fine and nothing you can do will change that. Aww. And then he walks out as his theme song, Born on the Bayou, blasts across the arena.
You guys, it's your babies are getting so much closure. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, and then Ted Buckland dies, apparently.
Chapter 4, Drop the Mic. So a couple of years have gone by, and your gang has continued to see success, winning multiple mid-card titles and being featured in several high-profile matches and storylines. But y'all aren't here to just be known as a decent hand in the ring. You're here to become legends. And the first step to becoming a legend is cutting that one legendary promo. The one that makes everyone look around and take notice. The one where you debut the famous catchphrase that will follow you for years to come. The one that will be shown in every video package and documentary about your rise to the top for the rest of your career. It's time for your List of 1004 holds, your Austin 316 moment, your pipe bomb promo. It's time to get on the mic. Fortunately, one of your backstage buds is more than willing to help you out. The character that betrayed their teammate back in Chapter 2 is now one of the top heels in the company, and they gladly agree to enter into a feud with you to give you the perfect target for the promo that will catapult you into stardom. So, Lucas, choose one of your remaining characters and cut a promo on Toph. You're more than welcome to just describe what your character says, but I'm gonna be honest, as always, the scales will probably tip in the favor of anyone who cuts their promo in character.
I'm actually not sure if I could do a Taco voice because it's kind of an emo Phillips voice, and that I think would blow my microphone out. All right, look, Toph, you think you're pretty special. You think you're great. I mean, you fell ass backwards into talent. You know, just because you find money in a bank doesn't mean you can just take it with you. You know, I put my money in my bag for safekeeping. It's special. It's for me. You know what you want? All you want is what is yours. You think you're entitled to everything that's here? Because listen up. I'm Taco. You know, from TV. You're never going to be as good as me. I'm not coming over to you. Taco's good out here. And Doug, what's your name? Because I tell you what, I'm about to tentacle your ass. It kind of got away from me at the end.
No worries. All right, Dan, who is cutting a promo on Willie from Temple of Doom?
The universe is cutting a promo on Willie from Temple of Doom.
I mean, pretty close. We open with a shot of the Coruscant skyline as seen through the windows of the Tower of the Jedi Council, and then the camera pans down to show Mace Windu sitting cross-legged in his high-back chair, and he regards the camera thoughtfully and says, "You know, a lot of people have been talking lately about all the success that Willie Scott has been having. And some people believe that this makes her a great warrior. They believe that it means that she is destined to rise to fame and success. But let me tell you something. Success does not make a warrior, oh no. You see, success leads to hubris. Hubris leads to foolishness. Foolishness leads to challenging the most dominant fighter in this business." And he points at himself not too subtly. "Challenging the most dominant fighter in this business leads to a quick fall into obscurity." And then he waves his hand in front of him towards the camera and says, "You will tune in to Hell in a Cell this Sunday. You will watch Mace Windu dominate Willie Scott. And you will know the power of the Force." And then he stands up and walks off, and you hear him say to an off-screen crew member, "Hey, hand me my lightsaber." And the crew member responds, "Well, which one is it?" And he says, it's the one that says bad motherfucker on the hilt.
Beautiful.
That's pretty good. I like that. I like the call to action at the end. That's good.
Yeah, that was great. All right, Bob, time for you to cut a promo on Spider-Ham. But with whom?
All right, I think it's going to be Angua.
Okay.
Angua is going to say, you know, you don't take anything seriously. You don't take me seriously. You don't take this sport seriously. You don't take your fans seriously. Everything is a joke to you. And then she's going to start stalking towards the camera, and you're going to see the moon rise in the background.
Oh, shit.
Is that, but you know what? I'm coming for you. And I want you to know something. I'm really hungry. And
that is terrifying.
She's going to half transform, and you're going to see her teeth get slightly sharper and longer, and her eyes shift to that inhuman shape that are canine eyes. And then it cuts to black. And you just hear a faint little wolf howl in the background.
All right. Well, that's terrifying. Thank you, Bob.
I like women that are dangerous. What can I say?
Yeah.
Chapter 5, Fight the Power. Okay, enough messing around. Your group has been around for long enough, gotten popular enough. It's time for one of you to win the World Championship. Or at least that's how you feel about it. The people in charge don't seem to agree. The show's authority figures keep throwing obstacles in your way, making you jump through hoops, continually bending the rules and moving the goalposts to prevent you from achieving your dreams. Refs have been paid off, handicap matches have been made, and of course, bells have been rung early. You've even recently heard somebody at the very top refer to you as a B-plus player.
Rude.
Well, screw that! Maybe other wrestlers let these suits and ties boss them around, but not you. You don't care who stands in your way. You're getting that world title, even if you have to overcome the very institution of the company itself. Dan, which of your characters has what it takes to win the world championship when the odds are long, and how do they overcome the authoritarian forces stacked against them?
So one of my two remaining characters has experience actually opposing a corrupt institution, and that is Gideon Jura. There was a time when he and his friends traveled to a plane called Kaladesh, where it turned out that there was all sorts of secret things going on in the government. They were keeping the people down. Gideon was one of the people that ended up both joining and enhancing the resistance there and led them to rebellion, which is interesting because you would think that as a white-aligned character from Magic the Gathering that he would be all about law and order. But Gideon is really about fairness and equality. And so when he realizes that the institution is putting the screws to him and his team in a way that they're not to other people, that incenses Gideon. Not so much for himself, but because he realizes that there have to be other wrestlers in the stable that are also feeling this way. And so Gideon begins to speak to all of them. He goes around, he gets their stories, he listens to them, and by the end, on the day of the biggest event in the company, he comes out at the head of a group of wrestlers that have been stepped upon by the institution and those less talented superstars that they push unfairly. And Gideon says, "We will not have it anymore. This is supposed to be about athleticism and performance and community. And you have proven you don't care about any of those things. What you care about is your own glory and your own profit. And you can attempt to gain those things if you want, but you will not do so by breaking our backs. And I challenge you to come at me if you think otherwise." And with that, he surrounds himself with a golden aura, crosses his arms, and waits. And no one dares to approach him. And from that point on, it becomes known that Gideon is a pillar of freedom in this institution of unfairness and inequality.
Dan?
Yes.
I can't believe you just made me like a fucking planeswalker.
It's because they're great, Miles. They're real great.
Oh God, I hate them so much, but I like that one now. Now I want one. What have you done to me? All right, Bob, who's standing up to the authority?
Heel Man.
Yeah.
Heel Man is not putting up with this shit. Heel Man wants all of the attention. All right, Heel Man's plan is to double down on his character choices and start a campaign on social media, and then also behave like a real asshole, like do some real kayfabe shit that is unkind. He's going to go into the dressing room of the person who has the nicest dressing room in the company and say, "Get out! You don't belong here. Have you paid your dues? You have not. You're garbage. Get out." The camera's going to follow him and watch him as he does this. And then he's going to start like making memes out of, I don't know, probably his furry underpants for some reason. And then he's going to start all of his fans, all of his, they call themselves Eternians. They're going to start adding on Twitter the people who run the company and saying like, "Why won't you let him do the thing? I love him. He's so great." And then he's going to start showing up to parties with Skeletor. Skeletor is like his manager for this. And Skeletor is going to be doing some real Havoc staff stuff. Parties are going to get unpleasant, ugly. Punch bowls will be thrown. And then this is so terrible, but it's such a He-Man move. It ends with him swinging the president of the company around by the hair, because that is a thing that He-Man does a surprising amount of. And then in a weird cut that doesn't really make sense, he's going to do some somersaults and then land sideways in one of those provocative, propped up with an elbow down, looking kind of sexily at the camera.
Sure.
And everybody's going to go, "Yeah, that He-Man guy. Heel Man guy."
Oh, beautiful. And I just love the imagery of He-Man swinging Vince McMahon around by his hair. That just makes me so happy in my heart. Thank you, Bob. All right, Lucas, who's fighting the power?
First off, I gotta say I am so mad at Dan right now because I was totally gonna do something similar, but now I'm improvising. I'm working on my feet. I got no plan. And doesn't it just scare you to death? All right, so after weeks of torment from the Authority and all of their goons, Rat Trap has had enough. His music hits. He hits the ring, and he gets himself a microphone, and he calls out the Authority, who come out to stand on the top of the ramp. And Rat Trap says, "Now, I know you're planning to interfere in my match tonight, but I got something that I reckon will take your attention away." And then the Titantron lights up, and suddenly you see the Authority's limo, and right behind it is a cement mixer. And suddenly the cement starts pouring into the sunroof and blowing out the sides. And then one of the Authority members runs out, "Oh no, my car!" And the Authority calls out one of their other goons, and they don't show up. And Rat Trap goes, "Yeah, I had a little void with them." And then suddenly the camera cuts again, and that goon is plastered to the wall with an electro net, upside down, with a sign hanging on them that says, "Dumb Goon." And it cuts back to Rat Trap, and he goes, "So, looks like it's just you and me." And the Authority figure cracks their knuckles and decides he's going to take care of this himself, and takes one step, and a pit trap falls away. And then suddenly, from above, you hear beep, beep, beep. And down falls just piles and piles of mud and buries the Authority figure up to their neck. Rat Trap walks by, tweaks the nose of Authority, and saunters to the back to uproarious applause as his music hits again.
Very nice, sir. Chapter 6. The Royal Rumble.
Oh.
Well, the hosts are all down to their last group member. Looks like all your friends have found their own routes to success, whether it be taking on Authority, making the most of their talking skills, overcoming the ghosts of the past, turning heel, or, well, we don't talk about that other one. What's left for you? What's your path to fame and fortune? How can you possibly hope to join your fellows at the top of the mountain? Well, I suppose you could always win the Royal Rumble. After all, the winner of the Rumble goes on to Wrestlemania in just 2 days, as we record this, to challenge for the World Championship, often in the main event. If there's anything resembling a career shortcut in pro wrestling, it's the Royal Rumble. But winning the Rumble isn't easy. The match involves 30 wrestlers, with 2 starting the match in the ring, and the next 28 competitors entering individually in 90-second intervals. There are no pinfalls, no submissions, no countouts, and no disqualifications. A wrestler is eliminated when they are tossed over the top rope with both feet touching the floor outside the ring. The last wrestler standing after all the others have been eliminated is declared the Rumble winner and goes on to Wrestlemania. Bob, who is entering the Royal Rumble match, and how will they win? And yes, I know who this is, so I'm looking forward to this.
When nobody expects it from above, clinging to the Titantron, and then dropping down onto an opponent's back like a puppet that has been dropped, is Gonzo. He wraps his limbs around them and then has his little puppet hands like trying to get some wet willies in the ear. And then, like, they turn around to try and get a look at him, and then their eye gets poked with that big old nose. And then one of them tries to toss him out of the ring, and he just clings to the rope and just gets stretchier and stretchier and longer. And then one of his long, noodly legs sweeps out, and then just kicks the feet out from under somebody who's half the ring away. And then it just kind of kicks them like you would if there's, like, a pile of dust, and you're just trying to, like, kick it slightly under the rug, just like kicks this body slowly out of the ring. And then he's like turns, and then he kind of balls himself up as much as he possibly can, and then he goes and then like kind of somersaults himself. Is that a somersault? What the fuck is it? Whenever you like spin yourself around, and then it's like that thing Rey Mysterio does, and then he catapults himself into the stomach of the next oncoming wrestler in a tiny cannonball, and they go out of the ring, and it continues like that for some time.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Gonzo was made for this. I love Gonzo, guys.
Gonzo doesn't know karate, he knows crazy.
All right, Lucas, who is your would-be Rumble winner?
Look, here's the thing. There are many stories in the Royal Rumble. You can have triumphant champions coming out at number 27, usually to win. You can have heels taking advantages and striking from outside the ring. But everyone knows the real Royal Rumble story is when you put a good guy in at number 1 and he goes the fucking distance. Let us see who drew number 1 in the Royal Rumble. And it is Miyamoto Usagi. Mm. He takes his position in the ring. He plants his feet. He is prepared. Let battle be joined. He single-handedly annihilates the competition as they come in. The first quarter of the Rumble is just him handily just taking apart anyone who comes at him. Giant monster heels will charge, only to have Usagi slip and pull the rope down so they fly outside. Fast-moving high flyers will find themselves grounded and taken apart. Even the occasional friend who enters will be faced with honor and dignity and sent on their way. But eventually the numbers game takes its toll. You have to last more than an hour to beat the Royal Rumble. And Usagi is outnumbered. But then, he reaches deep inside himself, to the soul of Bushido, the heart that beats within him, and he overcomes the odds, and he lifts his final opponent over his head, using his ears to help, because, hey, he is still a rabbit. And he flings him from the ring, and he raises his hand in victory. He has won the day.
It's tough to beat. Dan, who you got?
Well, this would be Freya Crescent's time to shine. Lucas brings up an interesting point. One of the best strategies to winning the Royal Rumble is to be drawn late or last, because really the best way to win is to just stay out of the ring for as long as you can. So what's Freya to do when she draws first? Well, in her case, as we see in Final Fantasy IX, she can just leave the battle by jumping straight up for about 20 seconds of hang time at a time. So when the ring inevitably starts getting crowded and people are coming for her, she's just not going to be there. But she never crosses over the top rope. She just leaps straight up vertically and does not return to the ring for a good long while, during which a lot of her other opponents start taking themselves out. But never let it be said that Freya does not know how to mix it up. Over the course of Final Fantasy IX, you will fight and kill literally thousands of enemies. So 29 other people is no problem for her, even without her spear, which I'm assuming they are not allowing her to take into the ring. You have to remember, she jumps that high just using her legs. Like, she doesn't have wings or a jetpack or anything. She just jumps that high normally. So imagine what happens when she uses those legs not to jump, but to kick. Imagine how incredibly far all of her opponents will go flying, not just over the top rope, but probably into the audience and possibly into the parking lot. Superstar, one after another, is leaving that ring, and only Freya will be left there, although it may take her a few seconds before she touches back down again.
Amazing.
I'm just picturing that like a Smash Brothers match where everyone's over 5,000. It's like,
Yep.
Twinkle.
Chapter 7, the main event. Wait, hold on a second. 3 Rumble winners? How can there be 3 Rumble winners? You can't all main event WrestleMania. What the hell are we supposed to do here? All right, let's see. There are 3 of you. You all won the Rumble. And as luck would have it, due to a variety of unfortunate circumstances, all the championships you were prepared to challenge for have been recently vacated. So I think that means that at WrestleMania, the 3 characters who competed in this last challenge will meet in a triple threat match in the main event. Every title on the line, winner take all. Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit 2 or more fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength or wits or thumbs to the eye and see who would win. This week...
You lost your own. Say
it, you coward!
Shocking swerve.
Freya Crescent versus Miyamoto Usagi versus Gonzo.
Yes!
Now don't worry, this isn't suddenly a full Smash Fiction match. In order to win this challenge, you must simply do the best job of briefly explaining why your character would beat the other 2 in a fight. There will be no rebuttals, so don't bother responding directly to points made by another host, and there will be no lightning round because this shit is crazy enough already. Tell me why, in a battle in a wrestling ring between these 3 characters, yours would come out on top. Lucas, we are starting with you.
Here's the thing about Miyamoto Usagi. He has been the main character of a long-running and extremely excellent comic for more than 30 years. There's not a rum one in the bunch. And in that story, Miyamoto Usagi has faced all kinds of enemies. He has faced corrupt officials. He has faced literal demons from hell. He has faced kindly innkeepers who become cat monsters. It happens. He has solved mysteries with Inspector Ichiro. He has fought literal hell beasts with Mongshan Shobo. He has learned how to farm seaweed, because that's a thing. Usagi may be surprised, but he is never conquered. Even in the incredible story Daisho, where he is deprived of his swords and becomes a one-rabbit rampage of revenge, taking out an entire army on the way to a warlord who dies of fear before Usagi gets there. Never does he give up. I think, in this scenario, Freya will attack him with spears and jumping. Cool, Usagi fights rats all the time. I'm picturing Freya lying still on the side of a panel with a word bubble with the shape of her skull in it, very quickly. And as for Gonzo, you want to go bonkers? Usagi can match bonkers any day of the week. His friend Chizu is a famous pickpocket and thief. Usagi can sneak around Gonzo, pull his pants down, kick him in the butt, knock him out of the ring. Nothing is off limits. Usagi will get the job done and reign as the new champion.
All right. Dan, you are up.
All right, so a lot of what I said in the previous one applies to Freya this time around. Again, when she can leave the ring for a long period of time and just kind of narrow it down to Usagi and Gonzo, I think her chances get a lot better. I'm going to assume that Gonzo will probably not survive long against Usagi by himself, but hey, Bob hasn't spoken yet. You know, she's surprised us before. But in any event, whoever ends up surviving this unintentional one-on-one is then going to have to face a perfectly fine Freya. She can jump up and down all day. She's not exhausted. This other person has had to go through the ringer in order to be the last one standing with Freya, and Freya is totally fresh. Freya still has all of her dragon abilities. You know, she can use Dragon's Crest, which is like this big energy attack that deals more damage depending on the number of dragons that she's killed. And my guys, she has killed a lot of dragons. She can use Race's Wind, which regenerates her health. If she does end up getting on the ropes, her Dragon's Breath ability actually gets stronger the weaker she is. And then later on, she actually gets the ability to, when she is jumping, just sort of like hang out in the air and just hurl spears continuously down at her enemies from, I'm assuming, low Earth orbit. I get that Usagi is a very powerful warrior and Gonzo is unpredictable, but neither of them have faced anything even remotely approaching the insanity that is Freya Crescent.
All right, and MeganBob, bring it home. I can't wait.
I'm so eager for this.
See, the thing is that Gonzo didn't really know this was for a tournament. He just thought this was fun. So The way that Gonzo will approach this, I'm not going to talk about his combat skills. I think that's frankly irrelevant here. I'm going to talk about the entertainment value that you get for Gonzo. Before, he dropped from the Titantron. No, this time it's a cannon aimed down at the center of the ring. Now, he knows what's going to happen whenever he fires the cannon. He will go directly through the bottom of that ring. And he will come up with a chair in either hand, waving them, ready to hit people. However, he's not going to actually hit people with them. He is going to start eating these chairs and then making crazy eyes at the other people. Camilla's going to be perched on one of the corners of the ring. He's going to do one of those, like, I see you, baby, I love you, and then keep eating that fucking chair.
What a tactic.
And they are going to back slowly away as the 1812 overture plays in the background to Gonzo doing this insane shit. And then after he's done eating those chairs, he is going to run back, get himself onto those ropes, and then fling himself bodily at both of them. And I don't know what's going to happen after that. I am not Gonzo. I don't know how his mind works. I'm just telling you, he is the person that the wrestling powers that be want to keep on the screen.
Oh, Bob. That was wonderful. All of you, that was wonderful. Let me figure out. All right, Jesus.
Gonzo's such a gift.
Yeah.
He is, yeah. I think I have to do it like this. So, this turned out to be extremely close.
Wow.
Everybody is within 1 point of somebody else.
The tradition.
Real quick, I'm going to go through the challenges just because you guys split the 6 challenges 3 ways evenly.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So you're saying that like a wrestling match, it all came down to that one big move.
That's right. In Chapter 1, Tag Team Turmoil, that one was won by Lucas.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
He had the best argument, so.
Toph encased Joe Bluth in rocks and used him as a rock puppet. Chapter 3, This Is Your Life, was won by Dan. Because I know, Lucas, you were number 2 on that one. I love that you were true to like the actual This Is Your Life segment, but Dan bringing you back home and making it so sweet at the end.
Nice.
Yeah, but
that was nice.
I really dug it. Chapter 4, Get on the Mic, was won by Bob.
Absolutely. Promos are hard.
Yeah,
promos are really hard.
Yeah, promos are hard, and while I really loved what Dan did with that one, with Mace Windu and everything, I just feel like when you kind of directly become a shill for the company like that, it's a little bit less effective than what Bob did with just like the terrifying full moon image. Chapter 5, Fight the Power, was won by Dan.
Nice.
With a planeswalker, no less.
With a planeswalker, no less, because that was just fucking amazing, and I loved every minute of it. Chapter 6, the Royal Rumble, I had to give that one to Bob. I just don't see how you eliminate Gonzo. I don't like.
I agree. I can't even fault it. He's like Ric Flair. He's hanging onto the bottom rope. He's ducking under the ring and coming out the other side.
Dan, your argument for Freya was great, but she's got to come down sometime. And
Gonzo will be there.
Bob's argument that you just can't get him out of the damn ring, I think, is effective. Chapter 7, the main event. Ultimately, I ended up giving it to Usagi and to Lucas because for as much as Freya had coming down on him, Lucas convinced me that Usagi can handle basically anything in the ring. So
yeah, there's a reason his comic has been running for as long as it has.
Yeah, when I realized that was going to be your last character, I was like, oh, shit.
Funnily enough, I expected a Royal Rumble match to be in here, and I had Spider-Ham in my deck ready to play. Oh
shit.
How many people would have run to the
amazing.
ring and run into a painting of the ring that was in the way of the ring?
All right, and with that, I have tallied up the final points, and the winner of this match by a single point, 13-12 to 11, is Daniel Bryan Mulcahy.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, congrats.
Just barely.
Oh, boy.
Congratulations, Dan. Your group of wrestlers has left a permanent mark on wrestling history, and each member of the party has had a long and decorated career. Well, Okay. As your reward for winning the match, you may now describe your group's curtain call moment. So with everyone in the twilight of their careers, their story already wrapped up, coming to a close in the annals of wrestling, on their last night in the company, they somehow all end up together in the middle of the ring as the crowd prepares to give them a send-off befitting true wrestling royalty. How does it all go down?
Well, Gideon Jura has obviously become the head of the WWE in the years since. He has completely displaced the McMahon family and has turned Worldwide Wrestling into something which is significantly more egalitarian and inclusive and positive, where everyone has an equal shot and no one is unfairly put over the top. And even when people lose, everyone still supports them. And so he's remembered very fondly for that. Freya is, of course, remembered for all of the holes that she punctured in the roof of the various stadiums across the nation.
God.
She is presented with a reward in the form of a giant trophy from roofing contractors of the United States who have all basically sent their kids to college thanks solely to her. Mace Windu actually ended up dropping out of wrestling shortly after this season, largely because he discovered a large number of Force-sensitive wrestlers that were in the stable. And so he started to train them in the ways of the Force and actually started a rival wrestling company in which Force powers are always legal. Then that brings us to Helena, and I wish I had watched Orphan Black. Helena, of course, disappeared very shortly after the season as well, because she ended up joining the Extraordinary League.
Right.
But she would occasionally come back in for surprise visits along with characters like Skeletor or various dinosaurs, which seem to be accumulating at an increased rate in Castle Grayskull. Gambit, I think, actually also ended up stepping down as a wrestler. He instead became a very well-known celebrity chef who would sort of use his wrestling fame as a way of jumpstarting his nationwide chain of Cajun gumbo restaurants. And so like that's sort of what's displayed when he appears on the ring, is everyone like holds up these novelty t-shirts and like, you know, the giant cups that you get from those types of restaurants. And then Willie Scott rides in on an elephant. I'm going to say that, you know, everyone is turning to her and applauding. And they even present her with a trophy for, you know, lifetime accomplishment. And then she looks in the top of it and there's an eyeball and she faints. And that's how that story ends.
Oh.
All right. That's your curtain call. Well, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Lucas, thank you for being here.
Yes.
We really appreciate you being a part of this.
Yeah, man.
you.
Thank you
You
so
were
much.
amazing.
I just want to show all of you so much good wrestling now.
Wrestling is fucking great, you guys.
It's stupid and wonderful, and it's great, and I want everyone to enjoy it.
By the time this is heard by the ears of our listeners, WrestleMania and TakeOver the entire weekend will be a thing of the past. But for us, it's right there in the future. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Oh, especially
Lucas, I hope you enjoy it.
I will, and I want to send a special shout out because a whole group of wrestlers from my local Fed PWA went over to New Jersey or New York and New Jersey, as it's referred to on the WrestleMania thing, for the weekend. They did an indie wrestling show there, and apparently were like hugely, massively welcomed and had a great time. So, and they should, because every one of them are fantastic. So, shout out to Jessica Troy and Steph DeLander and Caveman Ugg and Belle Pierce and Jack Bonza, who have all done fantastic work this weekend.
Speaking of shout-outs, Lucas, do you want to tell our listeners about the amazing stuff that you do?
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
sure. Okay. Well, I have a podcast. It's called The Math of You. A bunch of people in this particular Google Hangouts call have been on as guests. Several times.
All of them, in fact.
What we do is that I interview people about formative media from when we were young, which is really just an excuse to talk about really interesting and creative people and find out what motivates them and moves them, and really get into the good kind of nostalgia. Nothing gatekeepy about it. It's all about us finding things that we remember and also being able to introduce things that you remember to other people. So that is at themathovyou.com. You can follow it on Twitter at themathovyou. You can follow my wacky adventures at Lokified. And go on, subscribe, have a listen. I think we're coming up to the 100th episode soon.
Oh my goodness, congrats.
Nice.
And I'm very happy with it.
You finally going to talk about wrestling on your show?
I've had a few people talk about wrestling, but it's one of those things where I always worry it's going to take over the conversation because I don't know if you know, I like to talk about wrestling a lot. So
Miles,
yeah.
I love that we just spent the last 2 or so hours doing nothing but talk about wrestling. And the first thing you say is, so you going to talk about wrestling some more?
I mean, look, Dan, no offense, congratulations on your victory,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between doing a wrestling-themed episode of our show and doing what Lucas and I did for the first, I think, 2 hours before we even recorded the podcast when I went on the Math of You, which is just talk about current happenings in wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was good. And the thing is, I could talk about wrestling from my childhood until I fall over dead. I got to watch Shawn Michaels put Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window live on TV. I got to watch when Jake the Snake Roberts had a real King Cobra bite Macho Man Randy Savage's arm for real. So I could talk about wrestling until I fell over dead. And most of the audience would be dead too.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, now that they probably are, it's time for the kid thanks.
A real King Cobra?
Yes. They had to censor it on rebroadcast, but I managed to take the actual thing happening. It chewed on his arm for what seemed like ages.
I
How
gotta
dare
go.
they do that to a
Wrestling's
Cobra? Anyway, time for the kid thanks. Thanks for coming on, Lucas. Over to Twitter. Thank you to Magdalene Rose, Sid Rabbit, The Lake Bakes Fake Jake, The Wonder Gomer, Matias Tautimez, Andrew J. Young, Cosplay Devotee, Cool Down Now, Sean Boyd, Jeff Rick Present. I did write Jeff Rock Present, so maybe y'all could just change your name to that because that's pretty dope. Icon Jade, Florian, Tom, Cosplay Fiend.
From MySpace?
Yeah, Tom.
Okay.
That one guy.
And Fat Blunt _69.
Hooray!
Fat_69.
Lucas, would you also like to say it?
Fat Blunt 69.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was the sauciest it's ever been.
That was.
Over to Tumbles. Thank you to Sid Rabbit Blog, Ink the Cryptid, and Not Very Bright Raven, who, by the way, said of our last collab, this was a beautiful salad. Thank you.
All right.
Our collaboratories are like salads, usually not beautiful, usually disgusting.
I'm going to go ahead and assume they were talking about the regular collaboratory and not the April Fool's collaboratory.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that was a salad of a different type. Someone was making
That
some
was-
very unwise decisions at that salad bar.
Also, another time for the kit shame, because fucking Tumblr stopped tagging our ad posts as porn? Is it the Smash? Is it the Smash and Smash Fiction that's like, what could it be? What could it
Okay,
be?
you just gotta stop making them so sexy.
Yeah.
We can't do that, Lucas.
Over to Facebook. Thank you to Adam Mayo, Robert Ramsey, Viola Sanderlin, and Jeff Polier.
Also, special thanks and apologies to Matias Tautimez, who should be on this episode. I'm so sorry.
I should hope he's in China by now.
Probably, but I'm seeing him in a couple of days. He's coming down from Mania, so I'll have ample opportunity to make my mea culpas. Thank you for listening to this episode of Surprise Party. Next week, The Doctor versus the Borg.
Smash Metafiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin McLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Volatile Reaction.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/Smash Fiction Podcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
See, this will only be funny to Miles, but you know what?
I mean, that's basically this whole episode.
Yeah, basically.
You know, they say that all men are created equal. But then you look at me and you look at Gonzo and you can see the statement is not true. You see, normally you go one-on-one with another wrestler and you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% chance at best to beat me. And then you add Freya to the mix. Your chances of winning drastic go down. See, the three-way at Sacrifice, you got a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But I got a 66 2/3 chance of winning because Freya knows she can't beat me. And she's not even going to try. So Gonzo, you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance. You got an 8 1/3 chance of winning a Sacrifice. But then you take my 75 chance of winning, and if I was to go one-on-one, and you had 62.23%, I got 141 2/3 chance of winning a Sacrifice. You see, Gonzo, the numbers, they don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at Sacrifice.
Oh my god. I can't.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Did you
Wrestling.
memorize that math?
I did have to check the numbers real quick, but Scott Steiner is a gift.
Jeez.
That is an actual
that was-
pro.